Hello friends, welcome to Net Chemistry. Today I am going to discuss about GSI main exam. You know, Geological Survey of India Chemistry main examination date has come. October 17 and 18 will be the exam for 2020. You have already qualified the preliminary exam. Now you are going to write the main exam, right? So this is the first time they are conducting the exams, preliminary and main. Up to last year it was four papers only, main exam only. In the out of that four papers, three papers chemistry paper and one is English paper, right? General English one paper, all the essays and all you have to write. English 100 mark and all other three chemistry papers you will be having 200, 200, 200. Totally 700 marks you have to in the written exam, 700 and 200 for the interview. So out of 900 mark you have to score a particular mark. So in 700 mark last year's cutoff was 330. While hearing it seems like 330 mark, it is very easy to score. It is not like that. You have to work very hard to attain this cutoff 330. So what I am going to do today, I am taking all the questions, previous year question papers, and I am collecting only the repeated questions and I am giving you the solution for those repeated questions. So you no need to find out again for repeated question answers and all those things. Other than you have to complete your MSc syllabus, that is a must to qualify this exam. Other than that, some tips for your examination I am going to give. Okay, first I am going to take the analytical section. Okay, analytical chemistry, whatever the repeated questions you are going to get, that is, you know, it is out of MSc chemistry. We have all the MSc general chemistry, organic chemistry, like polymer chemistry. Those students might not have studied this analytical chemistry much. Whoever has taken the analytical chemistry as MSc analytical chemistry specification, for them it will be easy. So let us start with the analytical chemistry topic. These questions is all the time, it is a repeated questions, that's what I am going to take. First time I am going to tell iodometry and iodometry. What is that? Iodometry and iodometry already we have studied. What do you mean by iodometry and iodometry, or what is the difference between iodometry and iodometry? If you are downloading the question from UPSC website, previous year all the question papers are there in the UPSC website. You know the website address, right? www.upsc.gov.in. okay, or else just type UPSC, you will be directly going to the UPSC website only. Okay, in that website you can download all the previous year question paper, main exam geology question paper. So all the question paper you can find out these questions. What do you mean by iodometry and iodometry, or what is the difference between iodometry and iodometry? What is iodometry? What is an iodometry? Iodometry is when an analyte is a reducing agent. Okay, what analyte is a reducing agent and it is titrating against directly titrating against an iodine solution, that is called iodometry. What is that? This iodometry. Okay, if your analyte is a reducing agent, what analyte is reducing agent and it is a direct titration against iodine solution, that is what iodometry. Okay, iodometry, what will happen? It is iodine, direct iodine solution directly we are titrating. It is a reducing agent. What will happen? Reducing agent, electron will be adding, then it will be 2I minus. This is the reaction happening in iodometry. And now what is iodometry? Iodometry is an indirect titration. It is not direct titration. Iodometry is an indirect titration. When your analyte is an oxidizing agent and it is added to an iodide solution, like potassium iodide or something, you are adding an oxidizing agent, what will happen? The iodine will get liberated. That iodine will titrate against sodium thiosulfate. Did you do this titration? Yes, we have done in MSc practicals, we have already done in organic chemistry. All the practicals we have done this titration, iodometric titration. What we are going to do? We will be taking an oxidizing, our analyte is an oxidizing agent. This oxidizing agent will be titrating with an iodide solution, then what will happen? The liberated iodine, that liberated iodine will be titrated against sodium thiosulfate. And what is the indicator you are using? Starch is the indicator we are using. Endpoint will be a pale yellow color, right? That is what? Iodometric titration. It is an indirect titration. The iodine liberated is titrated against sodium thiosulfate. This is what the difference between iodometry and iodimetry. Iodimetry, it is a reducing agent is your analyte, and iodometry, oxidizing agent is your analyte, and sodium thiosulfate against liberated iodine is titrated against sodium thiosulfate, and indicator you are using starch. Okay, the reaction is this. What will happen? Potassium iodide, you are titrating against potassium iodide. Potassium iodide, the liberated iodine will be reacting with the potassium iodide, then it will be Ki3. That Ki3 will be the liberated iodine will be reacting with the sodium thiosulfate. This is what difference between iodometry and iodimetry. In iodometry, the reaction will be ulta. The liberated iodine I minus will be converted to iodine plus 2 electron. Right? This is the difference between iodometry and iodimetry. One must question for your exam. Up to last year, each and every year they are asking this question. What is the difference between iodometry and iodimetry? Okay? Clear? Okay. The next question we will see. Next question is, what is alkaline error or sodium error? What is that? Alkaline error. You have heard, right? Alkaline error or sodium error. I am writing, okay? Sodium error, alkaline error and acid error and alkaline error. So this question you may find in all the question paper. Alkaline, what do you mean by alkaline error and acid error? What is acid error and what is alkaline error? This terms refers to the selectivity coefficient of, if you are taking a pH meter that is very selective towards the hydrogen ions, okay? It will always selective towards the hydrogen ion. Many ions will be there in a solution, but the pH meter, that always it is, this electrode is tend to have a selectivity coefficient. It is very selective about H plus ions. Which ions? Hydrogen ions. This H plus ions, it is having a slight affinity towards the H plus ion. That is what we will call as selectivity coefficient. That selectivity coefficient, this electrode will always react to H plus. So what will happen? Why this error is occurring? This error is due to the selectivity coefficient. Electrode is always slightly more affinity, more selective towards H plus ions. That is why these errors are occurring. Okay, what is now alkaline error? If your solution is an alkaline solution means Na plus ions concentration. Any alkalinities will be very high. If alkalinity is very high, that pH also will be very high. You know, more than 7 will be the alkaline pH, right? More than 7. If the value of pH is, if your value of pH is, for example, it is 12, then it is a very high concentration of Na plus ions, right? Na plus ions, I am taking this alkali NaOH. Na plus ions concentration will be very high, means you may get the pH 12, 13 like that. If your actual pH is 12, but it will not show that, it will always show a very lesser value than the actual pH. What will happen? Why it is showing a less the value? If it is at 12, it might be show 11 or 10, something like that. It may show the electrodes. Why? The electrode is more responsive towards H plus ions. If the concentration of Na plus is high, it will show always a lesser value than the actual pH. That error is referred as alkaline error. Why this error is occurred? This error is due to the selectivity coefficient. The electrode is always selective towards H plus ion concentration. Okay, clear? Now what is acid error? Acid error is this H plus, whenever we are taking a pH and it is in an acidic range, the actual value will be like 2, 3, like 2 or 3, the actual value, but it may show a very higher value than the actual pH. Why? H plus, it is very, always it is selective, so than the actual pH you will be getting a higher value. That is what acid error. Clear? What is acid error and what is alkaline error? Alkaline error is what the value actual pH, it will show a lesser value. Okay, lesser than the actual pH it will show a value. That is what alkaline error. But acid error is ulta. If it is a very lower lower pH value also it may show a slightly higher value than the actual pH. That is what acid error. Why this error is occurring? This error is occurring due to selectivity coefficient of the electrodes. Electrode is always selective towards the H plus ion concentration. That is why these errors are. These questions will be always, you can see in your examination, always repeated questions. The next term is leveling effect. What is leveling effect? Leveling effect is the term itself is saying it is leveling the effect of the solvent. What is leveling effect of a solvent is the properties of acid or alkali can alter by the effect of the solvent effect on the concentration, the strength of the acid and the strength of the alkali, how it is impacted by the other solvent. If you are taking a strong alkali, it can be leveled by the effect of an acid, right? If you are taking a titration also, acid against alkali, like that only it will be getting neutralized. The same way, whichever solvent you are taking, the opposite solvent can level the effect of that strength of that solvent. So if it is a strong alkali, it can be leveled by the effect of an acid, and if it is a strong acid, it can be leveled by the strength of an alkali. Clear? That is what leveling effect of the solvent. The property of the solvent can be affected by the other solvents. If it is a strong acid, it can be leveled by the effect of an alkali, and if it is a strong alkali, it can be leveled by the effect of an acid. That is what leveling effect. This is clear? Sodium error, alkaline error, acid error and leveling effect of the solvent. Okay. Next question is related to the coal analysis. If you are taking the syllabus, the syllabus includes the coal analysis, right? Since it is a geological survey of India, that is an important topic for them, coal analysis. Okay, in that term related to the coal analysis, two important term you should know is proximate and ultimate analysis. What do you mean by a proximate analysis? What is an ultimate analysis? Proximate analysis, the name itself indicates that it is an approximate analysis. It is not into a very detailed analysis. All the physical properties we are analyzing. There is no process of the sample. Direct sample we are taking and we are analyzing. There is no like extraction and all we are not doing. We are not doing any process on the sample. It is a direct sampling analysis. What all are the parameters we will analyze using proximate analysis? Moisture content we are analyzing, ash content we are analyzing, the amount of volatile compounds present we are analyzing. All those things are proximate analysis. But the ultimate analysis is, what is the ultimate analysis? Ultimate analysis is using the sophisticated instruments. We are using the quantitative analysis. We will be extracting the sample with the suitable solvents and we are analyzing using, we will be extracting that extract, we will be injecting in the instrument and we are analyzing the elements present, carbon content, nitrogen, hydrogen, sulfur, all those elemental analysis we are doing in this ultimate analysis. But the proximate analysis, there is no extraction. If you are taking, how to calculate a moisture content, you are taking the sample, initial weight we will take and we will keep in the oven at a particular temperature. Each sample is having each specification as per SOP, standard operating procedure. We will be keeping that temperature and a time will be there, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Each sample will be different. Based on that SOP, we will be keeping inside the oven and we will be taking out, all the moisture will be evaporated. Then the initial weight and final weight we will be taking and we will be calculating the moisture content. The same way ash content also, you have done gravimetric analysis, right? Silica crucible, initial weight we will take, we will keep sample, we will be doing ashing and then all the samples will be burning and it will form an ash. Then we will keep in the muffled furnace, we will take out, we will be taking the final weight. The same way only here also ash content analysis. Then one more thing I said, volatile organic compounds, VOC, how to analyze the VOC. VOC is a headspace analysis, we will say. GCMS instrument is there. In that GC headspace is there. We will take the sample and we will be injecting in the headspace and headspace will give the content of volatile organic compounds present. Okay. All those things, direct sample we will be taking, we will be putting. Okay. But ultimate analysis is not like that. Ultimate analysis, all the samples you will be extracting and it is a quantitative analysis. It is like a advanced instruments we are using that elements, what all are the elements present, how much quantity it is present, that we are analyzing in ultimate analysis. This is the another important questions related to call analysis. And one more thing I would like to say is aniline point. This term refers to how indicate the efficiency of a fuel sample, how the fuel is efficient. Based on this aniline point only, even if it is diesel, petrol, all those things, fuel efficiency we are calculating using aniline point. What is an aniline point? The temperature at which the aniline, what is aniline? Aniline is an aromatic compound, right? This aniline will be mixing with oil at a particular temperature. This both will be completely miscible at a particular temperature. That temperature at which aniline and oil will become a single phase. We will be mixing, then that will become a single phase. That temperature is called as aniline point. How it will be mixing? If it is aromatic compounds are present in the oil, then only it will get mixed, right? So that temperature we are calling as an aniline temperature. So based on this aniline temperature value only, we can, aniline point only, we have to tell the efficiency of the fuel. High aniline temperature means your fuel is highly efficient. Less aromatic compounds are there. If it is a more aromatic compound, what will happen? It will be at very low temperature itself, it will get mixed. So high aniline point means your index value, fuel index, diesel index, we will say that will be high and the efficiency will be high. Your fuel is good quality fuel ignition point will be high, okay. But if it is a low aniline point value, your fuel ignition quality will be less. That is what all paraffinic compounds have mixed with your oil, then this aniline point will be low. Why? Aniline point is low. At a very low temperature itself it will be getting mixed. Why? Aromatic compounds like hydrocarbons, paraffins, all those things, alkanes, all those things presence means it will be completely miscible in a very low temperature itself. That temperature, if it is a low temperature, your fuel quality will be low. This is the term we use to measure the quality of the fuel, okay. This is also a repeated question. You can see aniline point of the fuels. Now this is clear. The temperature at which the aniline and the oil will be become a single phase. It will be mixing and it will be miscible and completely miscible and form a single phase. That temperature is called aniline point. And another term you have heard, Doctor's test. What is a doctor's test? This is a qualitative analysis to find out the mercaptans or hydrogen sulfide present in your gasoline, petrol or fuels. Amount of hydrogen sulfide or mercaptans present in your fuel, that is what doctor's test is used for. And the other thing is calorific value, okay. The amount of heat generated by burning of a fuel completely, 1 kilogram fuel if it is burning, the amount of heat generated, that is what referred by the calorific value. These all are the terms you can find out in your question paper. If you are seeing in MSc class, we have not studied all these things. That is what I am telling. The next class I will take all the repeated questions only I will take. The next class we will see UV visible spectrophotometer, theory, principle and working pattern and the questions whatever they have asked. Meantime, you see the other videos also, like MSc chemistry. I have solved some physical chemistry problems, inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry, important topics and all I have covered and kept. If you find time, because exam is very near, so if you find time, please watch all those things and study well. It is a very good opportunity for you MSc chemistry students to get a group A gazetted rank job, okay. You will be getting a very high salary. So wish you all the good luck in your exam and keep watching all the repeated questions. Please at least answer those questions and go. It will be easy for you to clear the exam. Wish you all a good luck, okay. Thank you for watching.